This midday, the Canadian province of Ontario announced a 25% electricity surcharge to the U.S.
For weeks now, we've been faced with so much uncertainty coming from President Trump.
On Canada, Doug Ford, the Premier of Ontario, says he's now imposing a 25% retaliatory tariff.
In a stunning move, Ontario has announced a 25% tariff on its electricity exports to the United States, a policy that could reshape the future of North American trade, energy security, and political relations. The stakes are high. This tariff, worth a staggering $110 billion, could send shockwaves across the continent. But what exactly has led to this bold action? Ontario's electricity exports have long been a vital part of the energy infrastructure across the northeastern U.S., with states like Minnesota, Michigan, and New York depending on clean, affordable Canadian power. But now, the 25% tariff comes at a time of growing tension between the U.S. and Canada, stemming from the trade policies of former U.S. President Donald Trump. Trump's America First agenda wasn't just about protecting U.S. industries from foreign competition. It was a full-scale trade war that spurred tariffs on a wide range of Canadian products, from steel and aluminum to agricultural goods. Canada, long a friend and trading partner to the U.S., was caught in the crossfire. But with the new tariff on electricity, Ontario has now flipped the script, using its power grid as leverage. This decision is more than an economic one. It's a direct response to the U.S.'s own trade policies. Ontario is sending a message that trade retaliation cuts both ways. It's a bold move in the broader geopolitical chess game. Trump's tariff policies were designed to target global supply chains, aiming to boost American manufacturing and reduce the U.S. trade deficit. But they also left a trail of bruised relationships, particularly with Canada, a long-standing ally. From steel tariffs in 2018 to agricultural price hikes, the U.S. used tariffs as a diplomatic weapon. For Trump, tariffs were a tool to force negotiating tables, often with little regard for the long-term diplomatic fallout. But with the new tariff on electricity, Canada is retaliating in kind, making clear that it, too, can impose painful economic measures. Enter Mark Carney, Canada's newly appointed Prime Minister. A former central banker with a background in global financial institutions, Carney is known for his measured, pragmatic approach to crises. But when it comes to protecting Canadian interests, he's prepared to act decisively. Carney's administration has made it clear, while Canada values its trade relationship with the U.S., it will not tolerate protectionism at its expense. The 25% tariff on electricity is part of a broader strategy of retaliation, aimed at both sending a message and protecting Canadian economic interests. The impact of Ontario's 25% tariff on U.S.-bound electricity could be devastating for several U.S. states. Minnesota, Michigan, and New York, all major recipients of Canadian electricity, stand to face rising energy costs as they are forced to either absorb the tariff or find alternative energy sources. These states could see electricity prices skyrocket, especially as domestic power grids struggle to meet demand. The tariff could push these states to invest more in renewable energy projects or, conversely, rely more on natural gas and coal, which could exacerbate environmental challenges. The question now is how the U.S. will respond. Trump's response, even from the sidelines, is likely to be swift and aggressive. His administration style often favored quick, harsh responses. Could we see a new wave of tariffs, this time targeting Canadian agricultural products or even auto exports? The risk of escalation is real. A tit-for-tat trade war could plunge North America into an economic tailspin, with real consequences for consumers, industries, and the global economy. Both sides will need to tread carefully, or face a trade conflict that could linger for years. In addition to the 25% tariff on electricity, Ottawa has introduced a range of other retaliatory measures. Liquor bans from the U.S., restrictions on government procurement, and tighter regulations on American companies bidding for contracts all form part of Canada's broader strategy to make its stance clear. These moves are symbolic as much as they are practical. A ban on U.S. liquor sends a pointed message to American manufacturers, while restrictions on government procurement can undermine American businesses that rely on Canadian government contracts. The economic fallout from this escalating trade war could hit both sides hard. Energy costs could rise for consumers and businesses in both countries. Manufacturers who rely on cheap energy, especially in energy-intensive sectors, could be forced to raise prices, passing the burden onto consumers. For voters in both nations, this could lead to backlash. The longer this trade war drags on, the more vulnerable politicians like Mark Carney or even Donald Trump become to voter backlash. If the tariff war results in higher costs and economic disruptions, both leaders could face mounting pressure from their constituents. In the face of this escalating conflict, energy security has become more crucial than ever. As both Canada and the U.S. look to secure their energy futures, the risk of supply disruptions will only accelerate the push for renewable energy. This could lead to greater investment in green energy technologies, potentially reshaping the North American energy market in the coming years. The 25% tariff on electricity exports is more than just an economic tool. It is a political statement, one that will shape the future of North American trade, energy policy, and diplomatic relations. As tensions rise, both Canada and the U.S. must navigate the storm carefully or risk a trade conflict that could have long-lasting consequences for all.